about the monk? Raise your hand if you can tell me something. Yes.
He likes to hunt.
He likes to hunt,
He
yes.
has really beautiful horses.
Beautiful horses. Real poverty there, right? What else?
Wealthy.
He's definitely wealthy.
He doesn't like to follow the rules of the monastery.
He doesn't like to follow the rules of the monastery.
He's
Patrick?
the head of the monastery.
Yeah,
He's the head, Rachel.
Carefree.
He's carefree, all right.
He
Elise?
likes to eat a lot.
He likes to eat. And what does he like best? This one gets me. He likes roasted swan whole, which made me feel like he eats the whole thing himself. Tanner?
Likes to wear nice clothing.
Likes to wear nice clothing, fur-trimmed cape. Sophie?
He's progressive for his time.
Very progressive, if you want to.
I was just gonna say that like, he justifies not following the traditional rules by saying he's like progressive.
Okay, is that progressive or justification? Which is it?
Justification.
But he's
Okay, what else about the monk?
He's bald.
He's bald. And his face shines like there's grease on it. What else?
Oh,
Really big.
Big eyes, shiny face, bald head.
I think, I don't know, probably has a big personality.
Has what?
Big personality.
Yeah, because what does he do to announce his arrival? Everyone.
He has bells on him.
Oh,
Yeah, he has bells on his horse and it says they're loud, so, you know, half a mile away. Ching, ching, ching. Oh, here comes the monk, you know, I'm here, everyone. So, he's not shy, is he? What else?
He has embroidered clothes.
That was the squire. That was the squire.
Looks like it from this picture.
Oh, well, that's an artist's conception. We have to go by the description. Some of these don't fit the description, like you notice on the yeoman, they didn't put the green baldric over his shoulder. That's described, so don't look at them too much. All right, now, what else? Anything else you know about him?
that's
He doesn't like to stay in the cloister, even though monks are supposed to be dedicated to working in the cloister. And what else? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. He doesn't like to read and all that kind of thing. Now we're going to meet another interesting, now this is a religious character. He's an interesting fellow.
Religious.
He took the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, but he doesn't practice, at least we know, poverty and obedience. Okay, now let's look at the friar.
Friar Tuck.
All right, he starts on page 100. There was a friar, jolly and merry, a limiter, and that means a friar who was given to begging rights for a certain area. So a friar was given a certain geographic area that he was allowed to beg in, and he couldn't go in another friar's area. So he was a very jolly beggar, very festive. In all four orders, there was none so mellow. And there's the four orders of friars. There's Franciscans, Dominicans, that sort of thing. But out of them all, none was more mellow or glib with a gallant phrase and well-turned speech. No one could talk like him in such a charming way. Listen to this. It's very interesting. Put your brain on right now and listen to this. He fixed up many a marriage, giving each of his young women what he could afford her. So he would pay for young women to get married sooner than, you know, usually they had to wait until she had a dowry to marry her off. He would speed the process up, give them money, and help them to get married. Just think of that carefully. There's a lot in that line. He was a noble pillar to his order. Highly beloved and intimate was he with country folk within his boundary. The city ladies of honor and possessions, for he was qualified to hear their confessions. Now, he says he was qualified to hear their confessions, or so he said. With more than priestly scope, he had a special license from the Pope. Friars didn't usually take confession, but he said he had a special license from the Pope to take confession. So he would hear his penitents or his remorseful sinners very sweetly when they were at shrift. In other words, shrift is to unburden your soul from what you did wrong. He would listen sweetly with a pleasant forgiveness for a gift. For a gift. He was an easy man in penance giving or forgiveness. He was easy to get forgiveness from, where he could hope to make a decent living. So let's go back up to sweetly he heard. Sweetly he heard confessions of his repentant people, and he pleasantly forgave them for a gift. He was an easy man to get forgiveness from if he could hope to make a decent living from you. it's a sure sign whenever gifts are given to a poor order that a man's well shriven. Now that's really sarcastic. Do you get it? It says, it's a sure sign that if they give gifts, then they're really sorry. So they should be forgiven. What is that telling us in a sneaky sort of way?
You can buy
He was taking bribes?
Yeah, you could buy forgiveness, but in this guy's mind, the more gifts you had, the more you were forgiven. But he's justifying it by saying, listen to this is so funny. And should give enough he knew in verity, the penitent repented in sincerity. So he's saying, the more they gave, the more sincere they must have been about being sorry. You know, some people went and confessed their sins to get forgiven just so they'd have a clean slate to start over. You know, we can't know their motives, but he judged their motives based on this. The more they gave him for taking their confession, the more sorry they were. And is that necessarily true? No, it isn't. But why is he justifying that?
He's
getting stuff out.
Because he's getting stuff, right. For many a fellow is so hard of heart, he cannot weep for all his inward smart. Now he's noticing that these people who are paying him a lot aren't crying. You know, when someone's really sorry for what they've done, they often cry. But he says, well, he's so sad about what he did, he can't even cry. So he's justifying that people that come to me, they don't look repentant, they don't act repentant, but they've given me so much money, that's a sign that they're really sorry, even if they don't cry. Okay? Therefore, instead of weeping and of prayer, one should give silver for a poor friar's care. He kept his tippet, that's his hood, that's what they called it. He kept his tippet stuffed with pins for curls and pocket knives to give to what kind of girls? Pretty girls. Did he give them to ugly girls?
Nope.
No. And certainly his voice was gay and sturdy, for he sang well and played the hurdy-gurdy. Now, all of you can play the hurdy-gurdy. You know why? It's a crank music box. And he would crank his songs, and then he would play and sing. And he had a nice voice, and people really liked this guy. He was really personable and happy, and he forgave you easily. What a neat guy. At sing-songs, he was champion of the hour. His neck was wider than a lily flower, but strong enough to butt a bruiser down. So he was a strong guy. Mrs. Barnes, can you set the temperature cooler? I'm dying up here. You too? Oh, good. Does anyone else feel it's too hot in here? Yeah.
Just go back here.
Okay,
It
he knew
feels
the taverns. Okay, listen to this. Now, this is a friar, a holy man. He gives these presents to pretty girls. He helps girls arrange their marriage much quicker and in a hurry. In fact, it sounds like he'd even find him someone to marry if he had to, and then pay the dowry. And now the next line, he knew the taverns well in every town and every innkeeper and barmaid too, better than lepers, beggars, and that crew. So he spent more time with who?
The bar.
Barmaids and innkeepers than he did with
People who use
lepers
the
and beggars. And who did Christ come to serve?
beggars.
The most lowly. He came to serve the most lowly, and he cared for those who were suffering. This guy liked to serve people who provided fun, like in the bar, or had money for their penance. For in so eminent a man as he, it was not fitting with the dignity of his position to deal with scum. The scum of wretched lepers, nothing good can come of dealing with the slum and gutter dwellers, but only with the rich and victual sellers, food sellers. But anywhere a profit might be made, he was courteous and lowly of service too. Natural gifts like his were hard to match. He was the finest beggar of his batch, and for his begging district paid a rent. His brethren did no poaching where he went. For though a window mightn't have a shoe, so pleasant was his holy how do you do, he got his farthing from her just the same. So he's saying, even though the widow, I said window, duh. Even though a widow might not have shoes, he was so pleasant that he'd get money out of her. Now, do you think a true man of God would want to take money from someone who had no shoes?
No.
But you notice that Chaucer's not judging, I'm judging. I'm interpreting. Chaucer says, well, of course he doesn't. His dignity's too high to work with the scum. You know, Chaucer, the narrator and the participant, Chaucer, and he never gives himself a name in the story, he's accepting everything as like, oh, isn't he great? So you could read this superficially without your brain turned on, and you think, oh, the friar's a really great guy. I'd say, what do you think of him? He's nice, he helps people, he has a good voice, you give me all these qualities, but you would miss some subtle things, like he fixed up many a marriage in a hurry, he knew every barmaid in town, he didn't want to deal with the scum and gutter dwellers, but with the rich and victual sellers. He had to pay a rent because begging rights cost money, but he seemed to have plenty. He'd take the last farthing from someone who had no shoes. He got his farthing from it. That's kind of like a con artist. Before he left, and so his income came to more than he laid out. So he made much more than he paid in rent. And how he romped, just like a puppy. He was ever prompt to arbitrate disputes on settling days. For what? For what?
Small fee.
For a small fee. Make sure you're following with me, because you need to know what this says in Chaucer's language, and I'm interpreting it for you. He would settle disputes on settling days for a what? Small fee in many helpful ways. Not then appearing as your cloistered scholar with threadbare habit hardly worth $1, but much more like a doctor or a pope. Of double worsted was the semi-cope. So his cope is his cape, and he's got a double worsted high quality cape on, not threadbare like some friars, upon his shoulders, and the swelling fold about him like a bell about its mold when it's casting rounded out his dress. This is funny. He lisped a little out of wantonness, and that's interesting, to make his English sweet upon his tongue. When he played his harp or having sung, his eyes would twinkle and his head as bright as any star upon a frosty night. This worthy's name was Hubert, it appeared. So he tells us the friar's name. He doesn't tell us everyone's name. You know, the yeoman's the yeoman, but the nun is Madame Eglantine, and the friar is Hubert. Okay, so now I want you to tell me about Hubert. Tell me about Hubert. What can you tell me? A fact. What's one fact? Yep.
Oh, he'd rather hang out with like the wealthy.
Okay, he liked hanging out with the wealthy crowd, yes.
Professional beggar.
He's a professional beggar, Rachel.
So players both aspects, like with girls.
Okay, he's a player. We got this from the pretty girls and something else too that you might not have caught, yes.
Basically what she said, but he like gives pretty girls like little objects to
Yes,
like,
and wins their favor that way, yes.
He's sort of like a con man, where he gets the people to like pay certain amounts
Mhm.
at like at the confessions. Like the better the gifts, the more forgiven they are. So
Yes, and
sort
you
of
can
like a
just
con.
imagine him saying, as he takes the money, oh, you didn't have to pay me. I would do it for you. I mean, you can just imagine he was a really smooth operator, yes.
He was willing to take any money he could get from anyone.
Yes, even if she was poor. And he wasn't poor, was he?
No.
Not the way he dressed, yes.
He could sing.
He could sing and play what?
The hurdy-gurdy.
The hurdy-gurdy, what talent? Yes. He could play the harp? Oh, I didn't get that.
Well, when he had played his harp.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. He could play the harp. I missed that before. Okay, good. What else? Yes.
He had a special license from the
He had a special license from
Pope.
the Pope to take confession, and notice the narrator said, so he said. So he said. He had no proof of that. He said that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to ask you to get a little deeper here, and every scholar knows what this is hinting at, but let's see if you get it. Why do you think he had to marry so many women off in a hurry? Yes,
Because
Ryan.
marriages give the church money because somebody has to officiate the wedding.
Well, doesn't say he officiated weddings, though. That would usually be a priest. Any other idea why he would have to marry them off quite quickly? After he gives them their little pins and knives and gets to be friends with them, all of a sudden he has to get them married. Why? Yes.
Would they catch on to what he was doing?
Huh?
Like if they caught on to like his business of scamming people?
I don't know, because he doesn't do it. Everything scam he does is perfectly legal. He asks
But like to
people.
girls specifically?
Yes. What do you think?
maybe by after treating them so nicely and then giving them off to someone who is more rich than them, maybe he would get some benefits from that.
Any other ideas?
Is it what we think it is?
Yes,
He has a fear of abandonment.
No, say it.
they're so nice, they're not guessing it, yes.
Wait, I don't know if that's
No, it
right.
is. He slept with
Is
them?
he sleeping
They're
with them?
pregnant.
That's what I thought.
Oh.
You're
Yes.
so innocent, guy.
No, I was like, I thought it was that.
I have
The church wants funds.
I thought it was Mrs. Palmer.
abandonment issues. Okay, I love you guys, that's so
Me
great.
and Holly were in the back like, is it that?
No, it wouldn't be that. That's extremely
Now,
rude.
think about it, think about it. This guy shows in everything he does that he's totally self-centered. He doesn't give money to anybody. He takes even from a poor person. That is not a generous spirit. Why all of a sudden is he generous on finding husbands for these girls that have taken his little gifts?
Has to look like he
So that
didn't
looks
make
like
them
it's their
work.
kid.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so the Friar's an interesting dude, right? Okay, now we still have to do a couple more, so let's keep moving because we have 5 minutes actually. Okay, the merchant. What's the quiz on tomorrow, Mrs. Barnes, for this class? Oh wait, I have it here.
None-month
I don't have classes.
Oh, that's right. For the next class, it's on None-month Friar. Oh, we just have the merchant. Let's do him really quick. There was a merchant with a forked beard and motley dress. Motley is what?
Motley Crue.
Motley is like this pattern.
The applesauce.
You know the diamond
Oh,
pattern, like Joker's
Argon.
wore and stuff?
I thought Motley was a different.
That's Motley. Okay, so, all right, he had a forked beard and motley dress. High on his horse he sat, up on his head a Flemish beaver hat, and on his feet dainty buckled boots. He told of his opinions and pursuits in very solemn voice, and he told about how he never lost. The sea should be kept free at any cost, he thought, upon the Harwich Holland range. That just means the North Sea. He thought the sea should be kept free. He was an expert at currency exchange. This estimable merchant so had set his wits to work, none knew he was in debt. So he talked how he always won and how good he was in business, but the narrator says that yet he was in debt. He was so stately in negotiation, loan, bargain, and commercial obligation. So he's a typical businessman. He's talking about how good he is at negotiating, at working out bargains and commercial deals. And yet, we know that he's in debt. We just found out, so he might not be as fancy as he says. He was an excellent fellow all the same. To tell the truth, I don't know his name. Okay, so how does the narrator feel about this guy? He's an excellent fellow all the same, but what's a little bit of caution with him? Yes.
He kind of isn't who he appears to be.
Right, exactly. Well, he might not be a
Not
con
really.
man.
He's just trying to be something.
Yeah, because, you know, aren't you taught, if any of you have ever sold anything, you will learn that in sales, and I just do not like this, but in sales, they teach you, you might be the poorest salesman alive and you've sold hardly anything, but they tell you to wear expensive clothes, drive a nice car, and appear like you're really successful because then people will trust you with their business. And this man has learned this art. He's talking about how good he is, about how he never loses a deal. So he's doing what salesmen often do, but he's in debt. So we know that there's just a worm in the apple there, right? It looks all nice and rosy, but not as all as it appears. Okay, now, tonight, your assignment, or you have 2 days to do it, you're going to do similar to what you did with these. Let's see here. Write down the 5 characteristics of each of these. Tell if you would like them and why. I don't have a fancy paper for you this time. You have to do it on your own paper.
I
Yes.
made one, I just haven't run it off, so I don't have time to run down right now. So if somebody wants to go down with me after class,
Okay.
then I could run it
And
off.
get the handout, and then what's your next
Will you bring it
class?
into
I have study hall.
There's study hall and
Pre-cal.
A&P.
Pre-cal.
And pre-cal.
Pre-cal.
There's study hall.
And people have study hall so they can walk
Okay,
around.
Annie can do it. She knows where everybody is.
Okay.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you. All right, so we've met some new people today. Interesting characters. The only one I found really, really above board in everything is what? Who is it?
Above.
Wait, what do you mean above?
Above what?
I mean, on a person of high integrity and trustworthy. The knight, yes. And I wouldn't say his son was a bad person. He's a little bit of a ladies' man, but, you know, he's not lying or stealing or, even though, you know, we might not approve all his behavior, but it's not bad. The yeoman, we don't know, but the yeoman is very serious about his career. I think as far as what he does, he has integrity. What about the monk?
He lives
You
life
know,
to the
he's
fullest.
not necessarily a bad, everybody's good and bad mixed together, but
Oh, no, I'm at the fire side.
oh, the monk is definitely not living up to his vows. You know,
No.
and what he's doing is what all of us do. If we want something badly enough, we justify it. Now, how in the world could this monk have the money to buy horses? Think about this. How could he buy horses and greyhounds and fancy clothes? Where does he get the money? From the church. That's where he works. So that means he's taking quite a bit of money for his personal use. And yet he justifies this. He's worked it out in his head, so it's okay. We all do that. Have you ever found yourself doing that in certain situations? You know, like, I really knew this answer. I knew it so well, and now I can't think of it. So I'll just see what so-and-so has, because I already knew it. I just forgot. It's okay. You know, we do that kind of stuff all the time. We justify what we want to do. And what about the friar? Happy, fun, party guy. What about him?
He's fun.
Would you say he's honorable?
Oh,
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. And the merchant, he's kind of showing a different face than what he has, so I wouldn't call him exactly honorable too. So there are many fascinating characters we're still going to meet.